Blackest day and brightest night, beware your fears made into light. Let those who try to stop what's right burn like my power, Sinestro's might. I'm just kidding, it's Sinestro, but I said that to piss some of you fanboys off. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey guys, welcome to the Extreme channel where we are looking at this custom 1/4 scale Sinestro statue. That's right, Sinestro from the Sinestro Corps or the Yellow Lantern Corps. So as I said in the beginning, sometimes I mispronounce names because I don't know any better. When I read it, I don't know what it sounds like. And sometimes I do it just to piss fanboys off. It's probably about 75% where I'm just doing it wrong and 25% to piss people off. But extremely excited over this custom piece. So custom means it was a private unlicensed commission. They didn't make very many of these. We'll talk about that in value because today we're doing an in-depth review. Now what's really interesting about this piece is I was really worried about it for a variety of reasons. So we're going to talk all about that today as well. But before we get started, let's talk about water. That's right, water and the coldest water bottle. So hey guys, this is a water bottle that keeps stuff cold for 36 to 100 hours. It's like, what the hell does that have to do with pop culture, comics, or statues? Absolutely nothing, but I need some money. So if you want one of these, go ahead and click on that link below in the description. We're doing a contest where we're giving one away. It may be this one that has my DNA all over it. So that means you could clone me. No, it would be a brand new one from the company. But guys, this is an awesome water bottle. It is my new go-to. I have 20 of them, not of this particular brand, of 20 different brands I've tried, but this is the best. And I'm not just saying that because they pay me to. But if you want to check some out, there's a code below where you can actually get a discount and search their website. So Sinestro, as I said, from the Sinestro Corps. Sinestro, you may recognize recently, I guess not so recently, before Deadpool became Deadpool, he starred in a DC movie, Green Lantern. And me, I thought this movie was alright. It was entertaining at the least. And Sinestro was a Green Lantern in that movie because that was his origins. He's actually been a Green Lantern, a Yellow Lantern, and a White Lantern. And he is arguably one of the strongest lanterns no matter what color he is. Now if you're unfamiliar with all that, each color does signify something different. As you probably know, Green Lantern is all about will. Yellow Lantern is all about fear. Now they touched a little bit in this on the movie if you saw that. Parralax is the one who developed fear. Sinestro created the Sinestro Corps, the Yellow Lantern Corps, and he became actually not only one of the most badass people in the DC universe, but one of the most powerful. He actually became so powerful, he was more powerful than Parralax. And there's a ton of storyline behind it, but essentially you did not want to mess with this guy. He could even go toe-to-toe with Lobo. So I ordered this custom statue because it came from a group that I've ordered a number of pieces from. Some of them I very much like. Some are a little bit of a disappointment. And usually the concepts they come out with are amazing. Case in point, this piece right here. Now some of the other pieces I got, first of all, is this Flash statue, which you guys know I absolutely love the concept. I thought the paint job was very, very much lacking, and there were some issues with the sculpt. I've also owned this Darkseid piece, which I have since sold. Now, I really did dig this one quite a bit, but I have a better one coming in. And then I used to own this Reverse Flash, which honestly I sold, and I #regret it. That's probably the only statue in my collection that I've sold that I regret selling. But I PO'd this quite a while ago. I want to say at least 2 years, if not longer. And we didn't get a lot of work in progress updates, so I got really worried, especially with such a dynamic, elaborate piece. I mean, it's like, my goodness, something's going to go wrong. And then to cap it off, when it was finally ready to ship, express shipping was like $1,500. Which we'll talk about in value. But the first topic of conversation in the review is concept with this piece. Now, not as a surprise, that is why this piece is amazing, but there's some other good things as well. But let's take a look. So you have an outer base on the bottom, and I kind of like this. It gives it a little bit of a museum style, and it has the Yellow Lantern symbol on 4 different corners. On top of that is some kind of rock. So you assume he's somewhere in outer space. He's on a planet. Who knows? He could be on Earth, even though the majority of his fighting was in outer space, if I recall correctly. You see the construct of this fear dragon everywhere. It's made out of semi-translucent resin, and it is amazing. I love how it's curling around the entire statue. It's curling around him. He is in the middle doing a little bit of a dancing pose. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the pose, but I think it works decently at certain angles with this piece. He's decked out in his uniform. As you move up, you see him in a museum pose, but he's clearly in the middle of an action. Now, this particular dragon isn't coming directly from his ring. I think that's a little bit of the concept that I would have liked to see. I would have also liked to see the ring on his back hand. Now, we're going to do some close-ups of picture and video, but it's on his front hand here, and there are some switch-out options, not only with his hands, but his portrait that we can look at. And he looks fierce. I was actually really impressed with Sinestro as well as the dragon, which clearly the dragon kind of makes the piece, but it is a pretty cool piece. So concept, very unique, very huge, shows the power of him. I think a dragon was a badass choice. I have to give the concept a 5 out of 5. That's why I bought it. I think it's amazing. It's well done. Now, with this, you really worry about the design. And honestly, the things I thought would go wrong with the design didn't, but some other stuff did. So before we look at that, let's look at the unboxing and assembly. 2 giant boxes, which is to be expected, with your standard custom black foam and straps. Now, the first box had 2 different layers. The first layer, I couldn't believe how many pieces there were, as you can see right here. But most of them were these spikes that go into the dragon you're going to see. Then the second layer was the base. Now, the second box, as expected, had just 1 layer with 1 portrait and the dragon. And luckily, there were no breakages. All right, I'll measure him really quick here. So the widest point is kind of hard to tell because you can't really tell where the front is because he could be displayed a number of ways, but it's over 25 inches probably with the dragon. And if I use that as the widest point, or the deepest point is probably about 23 with these spikes sticking out, which we're going to talk about in a second. And then I believe the tallest point was right under 25 inches. Yeah. So you have about 25 inches on the height. Now, as you saw in the assembly, the dragon, other than the spikes, is all one piece, which is really, really smart. And I was amazed nothing was broken. None of the teeth, the tongue. So fabulous job to them on the packaging, especially when I saw the UPS guy rolling it up my driveway. Now, these spikes right here, these are actually keyed in with just friction. Now, quite a few of them, especially the lower ones here, were loose, so I did glue them in. Also, they were all numbered, so it was decently easy to figure out which goes where, but they were numbered in black marker, and you can kind of see the black marker, so that's a little bit of a miss. Also, the weight of the dragon has it not 100% flush on the base right here. Not a huge deal, I can get over that. I said there's some switch outs, so let's look at those. On the left hand, where his ring is, you can have him with an open palm or with a closed fist. And the same thing can be said about the right hand. Here's the open palm, and here's the closed fist. Now, these don't sit flush either, and there is another problem. At first, I thought the hands were overscaled. Here's a picture right here. So I went and did some comparisons. I took the portrait and I took the hands with other 1/4 scale pieces. They're not overscaled, neither is his body. So I think his wrists are just too skinny on the edge, and it gives the illusion that his hands are overscaled. Not a huge fan of that. He does have 2 portrait options, which is nice. Here is his one where his gritting teeth looks a little more fierce, which for sure I thought this is the one I would use. But the other one has this own sadistic kind of look to him, which I think fits the statue really well. Now, the oversized hands bother me quite a bit. The fact they don't sit flush isn't a big deal. You kind of step back 12 inches or so and that goes away. Same thing with this not sitting flush. I don't like how the spikes are a different resin color. I honestly wish they didn't have the spikes, but they have big keyholes, so you have to have them in there. Now, there's a lot of things that's not perfect with this design, and I think that almost puts it in like a 3 to 4 range on the scoring. But you have to take into consideration that they tried to go all out. This is extremely elaborate, and I give them a lot of props for that. So I think this more falls into around a 4.5. I typically don't grade halves, I always go down. So we're going to give it a 4 out of 5 on the design. Huge stand-up applause to them for what they attempted to do. And to be honest with you, they pulled the hard part off. They just missed some of the other little things. Paint and sculpt, it's kind of weird, kind of a spoiler. The portrait and the base could have been better. The rest is phenomenal, which is his entire body and the dragon. Check it out. So before we dive in on him, let's look at the alternate portrait up close. Now, the portraits share a lot of similar features, other than the expression really around the mouth, which obviously creates wrinkle lines above the nose. So here you obviously see his teeth. I think they did a great job on his teeth. I like that glistening effect. His mustache and eyebrows are sculpted in. It's not the most detailed sculpt by any means, but I think it does a decent job. Initially, when I was getting this out of the box, I thought way too pink, but I think the shades suit it well. You almost see a little bit of reflection of orange on there. Now, the eyes are hand-painted. I like that little beady yellow eye, the evil fear power coming out. So the portrait's decent. It's probably the weakest part of the statue. The hair looks okay. Not a huge fan. It looks a little bit fake. And what's interesting is I thought this, like I said, I thought this would be the portrait I really want. But as I go back and forth, I dig this one too. I like the confidence in this one. So I think I'll keep both of them out to switch it around. But the portrait's, like I said, probably the weakest part of the statue. When it comes to the statue itself, we'll talk about one other part. And let's actually just move down to that. So this outer base here, I like it. You know, it gives it that museum style. It's not black or anything with the lantern symbol on all 4 sides. I would say corners, but it's obviously a circle. That diamond pattern coming throughout kind of gives you that feeling of lantern power. Now, the other part I'm not digging is this ground. So, as we talked about, it could be a planet, but could have added some more gray in here. A little bit more texture on the rocks would have made it look less plasticky and less poo-like. Because let's face it, it does look a little bit like poo. But obviously, when you take a step back, you're not seeing much of that. So I can definitely get past all that. Now, the dragon, as we talked about in design, phenomenally done. I like the shades. You know, initially he was trying to make it more translucent, but he just couldn't get it stable. But I think this is very adequate because you still have a hint of that translucency with the different shades of yellow and orange throughout, and you can still make out the details of the sculpt in the dragon, from the scales to the spikes, and then especially around the portrait. Even there you can see the eyes and the teeth. Very, very impressive. This is one of those pieces where my expectations were not so high, but wow, they knocked it out of the park. Here you can see the color difference on the spikes depending on the light that's shining on it. But that dragon is just phenomenal. Really, really well done. And it doesn't look too much yellow or too much orange. And that's a change of his costume. So he's got this copper metallic aspect to it on his boots and up on the torso there. And I really like that. It contrasts really well, makes him look really clean. I think they did a very nice job with the anatomy of Sinestro. He's fit, but not overly fit. You see the abdomen, you see where he's stretching right here. And on the costume here, you see a few folds, but not too much. It's a pretty tight outfit. And I like how there's a different texturized pattern on the inside of the pants, like you see a lot of times, the outside of the abdomen here. And then again, that copper shiny aspect I think really adds to it. It contrasts a little bit too much with the pink, and I think that's what I don't like, but it's really clean. The paint's really well done. Little messy here on the logo, but that's if you're looking at it with micro detail. But overall, that body just looks great. I love the paint on it. I love the sculpt. Really impressive. Then his hands, little left wanting in between the fingers there. Not as defined as it probably should be. Little messy. And see, that's where it looks really big. So there's another example of that. The ring could have used a little bit more detail as well. But overall, very pleasantly surprised. The dragon, which is the star of the show, is perfect when it comes to the paint and sculpt. Sinestro, most of him, I think, is done extremely well. So really impressive piece overall. Definitely can look past the small shortcomings we discussed. I think I'm going to move back to the other portrait. So always difficult to judge these things when you give a different score to the base and the portrait. But honestly, you're looking at the body, you're looking at the dragon, so I'm going to kind of lean towards that. And that's why I'm giving the sculpt a 4 out of 5 on this piece. And I don't always give the same score to the paint and sculpt, but I think this time it is going to be the same score for a lot of the same reasons. You know, and originally, like I said during the video when I was taking them out, the pink tone was too much, but I think it balances well. So I think the paint's also a 4 out of 5. This is definitely my favorite piece from this group without a doubt. All right, so let's talk about value on this piece. Giant 1/4 scale piece. They made 30 of them, so it is incredibly rare. And there's not a lot of Sinestro pieces out there. I believe there's an old one from Sideshow, but he might be in his green uniform. I don't quite remember. Now, I really want a Green Lantern to pair with this, and I've never seen one in the 1/4 scale I like. But XM Studios recently teased one, so I'm really hoping that's going to be the one to match up with this guy. Because I have a 1/4 scale DC display over there, and I have all of the main Justice League, and then I have their counterparts. If you want to see what that looks like, check out the Extreme Channel Instagram, Facebook page, and TikTok. The link is in the description. But back to this guy, $850. They only made 30, $850. That is a steal, right? Well, kind of. It's kind of a steal. You have to consider shipping. Remember what I said at the beginning? $1,500 for express shipping, and I believe it was $900 and something for economy shipping. That took 40 days. So of course I paid economy. So I'm about $1,700, give or take, into this statue. Now, because he's so unique and he's so badass, I think I could get my money back. So I think the value is a 3 out of 5. Honestly, if the worldwide shipping issue wasn't going on, economy shipping probably would have been about $400. If that was the case, then I would say the value is through the roof on this guy because he's fantastic, he's rare, he's a character that actually has a pretty big cult following. But I think when I look at, $1,800 all in for a 1/4 scale custom piece, I have to say it's between a 3 and 4, so we're going to give it a 3 in value, although I could argue I could probably make some money on this guy if I wanted to. However, I don't want to. This guy is sticking around. Originally I was debating getting rid of my 1/4 DC line, but I have some pieces like this and that giant Aquaman that I just cannot give up because not only would they be a bitch to ship, but they are fantastic. So clearly I'm jumping to the fact that this guy does have the X factor. He's a 5 out of 5 statue. He's extremely impressive. I can't wait to see what he looks like in the display. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Are you guys digging him? Let me know in the comments. That'll enter you into the contest. Also, if you like stuff like this, get 3 to 4 new pieces every single week. Make sure to hit that picture of me, subscribe to the channel, and if you could do me a huge, huge favor, drop me a like on the way out. That really helps. I will talk to you soon. Take care.